Hi, this is a follow-on video from our part 1 of our Node-RED factory in a box dashboard from the beginning. Now this is really maybe a part 1.1 even, because there's a couple of little things on there that that are quite subtle that I'd like to highlight, and I'm just going to do this and see where we go. We've got a number of tabs open. Let's go to where we left off. I've actually added back some flows, but basically this is our publisher that we defined, and our second flow, which is essentially our subscriber. Now again, I've got a switch in here that we didn't have before. We had some differences here, so this is a switch where I could show you that we could switch by message payload by a particular XBee. But that's by the by. Let's go back to here, and it's a little bit about switches. Just to highlight perhaps why I wanted to change the switch here, or put a switch in here that I had if this, and when this is a second area, you see this red box around this entry point. That suggests that it's failing a rule. Now the reason we've got 0x83 is that's a hexadecimal number, but 0 and x are actually, well, x is definitely a character, so I could fix that by changing this to a character, a string. But we know it's a number. Now JavaScript can convert strings to numbers just explicitly. The fact it's called duck typing, and it's to do with if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, well then it's a duck. So this string looks like a hexadecimal number, so it's a hexadecimal number. So I can fix that there, or I can put, and let's say done, and deploy. And that should mean that if I get, even though it's a string, I should still get some data from a machine. I'm going to put it on and turn it off, because I don't want to get too much data in here. In fact, here we go, just turn it on. Okay, so my factory, my cell, that's it. So we've now got these 4 things happened very quickly. This is from our machine, E242. All well and good. We actually maybe got the same. Did we get anything from here? I don't think so. I think they're all from that node. They're all got that EB on the end, so they're all from that node. Okay. Well and good. Now let's get something from this one here. And we can get that because I've also got a device. It's a scanner for RFID, and it's going to have a different type of XBee message. So let's see this. Instead of being type 131 or hexadecimal 83, it's this type, which is actually hexadecimal 81. And instead of having the data as a array, it's got a whole sort of buffer here, which happens to be the UID of the card that I just scanned. So let's get to it. Well, what we can do is we can very simply do Control-C to copy that, and Control-V to paste, drop it in here. If I do it properly, that is. Come on. Okay, that's more like it. So now we've got essentially the same thing for the 2 things. We haven't said what type of switch this is. We could actually explicitly say that instead of otherwise, we'll just say well, we'll leave the otherwise. We'll add another one. Move the otherwise down. We'll say that's equal to, I think it's 0x81, because that's output 2. So we could be explicit on this one. Type 131. Type whatever that one was, 129, I think it is. And we're done. Let's deploy. What will happen here is that this payload won't exist properly. So we can actually, well, let's just change it before we do anything else. We'll at least put in there that it's just data. So instead of digital samples, we just need data, but we'd like to convert that buffer to we like to add that buffer up. So let's just maybe look in the options here, and let's see. We'll get rid of the digital samples, but I think we like a function. I don't know whether we can do that function on this payload data. Now that would be toString potentially. Function reference. Let's have a look if we can actually see if we have something that's going to do like a toString from the buffer. Strings are unchanged. Numeric. Well, do you know what? String argument prettify. Strings are unchanged. Functions are converted to an empty string. Numeric infinity. Well, we should be able to put in hex here. Is there anything about hexadecimal numbers? 2 millis. Pad. Merge. Max. From millis, format number. Format base. Cast the number to a string and forms integer. Well, opposite way around. Well, do you know what? We'll actually find out what it looks like as just data to see if it actually converts that to anything. So that's essentially it. Done. We've changed it slightly. We're happy with those things. Done. Deploy. All we need to do now, well, actually, this is still connected to the other, I've just noticed, but we need to connect that to this one. Deploy. We'll just hover over that. Type 129, that's where we want it to be. And let's scan the same card. If I just put that in the bin, we'll see what we've created. We can maybe use a okay, we've preserved the buffer completely as this hexadecimal number. So I'm not sure whether we can actually apply a JavaScript function on the end of that, but let's try it. So in JavaScript you just put .toString and then hex. We'll check it out. And just see if it likes that. No. Done. Deploy. Let's try that again. Ooh, magic. So we were able to use JavaScript, or a JavaScript function, toString, as well as on the buffer information, as well as create the array for the output. So that's halfway there. Now let's look at this a little bit more carefully. There is something else that we can do in JSONata. It's a bit flasher than we expected. So perhaps let's maybe compare. That's a message payload, message. Let's look at the two different types of message side by side. So let's make this one not the complete message object, but the message payload. Let's deploy that. We're going to get a few. I know that we're going to get a few, but let's try and get just a minimum. Okay, so that's the first type. Then let's get one of our new type in. Okay, that's all good. That's what we want. Let's see if we can combine that. Let's see if we can actually just have one change rule, perhaps not even a switch, and use JSONata completely. So we know the type of thing we want. Let's just copy one of them. We want this payload if it's one type of message. The topic's the same, and we want another type of payload if it's the other. Let's just copy that. And let's look at another operator that we can have with JSONata, and it's going to be based on, I think it'll exist, it's the message.payload.type, and that'll exist all the way down to here, I hope. We'll soon find out. So let's see if we can actually use JSONata to do a test. So it has an operator called a ternary operator. Now I have up here a JSONata help document, and it's this one we're going to do. We're going to have a test expression, and then we're going to choose one if it's true and the other if it's false. And in the other one, if it's false, we'll potentially reject it completely. So if we don't even need the switch, so we can just maybe even put undefined as the data, or undefined and the time or something, empty array. How about that? So let's go back to where we were. Let's try and make that happen. So we need to check if our payload dot type equals, and this is where we're gonna, well, let's just live dangerously, eh? So we're going to have payload type equals, and it's a string. We'll try, I'll see if it likes that as a string. x83, so that's the first type. Sort of then, well, that's the, is that the if? I'm not quite sure. So we've got, if payload type equals that, then do this thing. Let's just mess around with this and actually make it a little bit more readable. So we have this, then we have the other operator. I don't know where we're going to put that other operator. Put it there. If it's the other right one, we can go Control V, because I think that's pretty much what we had before. Sort of otherwise, sort of do that, or if then else, if that, then do that. Well, actually, maybe we have to check again. So let's put another one in there. So we'll do the second. We'll do that twice. If it, and because we want to be explicit here, let's say if it's like that, then, and let's do the formatting again. We know that bit works. Let's put the other one at the end. We should really indent those a little bit as well, but that's another story. Let's live with that. So that's not quite finished. We have to do, what's the else? We need that operator. So we just, let's put an empty array. So that's it. So if we get that type, we create that one. If we get that type, we create the other one. And that's it. We don't need our switch in there anymore. So let's say we've done for that. We have a test, but I don't think we can actually get the output here because I think it needs to have some of those things set already. But that's good. We got done. All that looks great. That's this one here. We'll delete that string from here. And well, do you know what? We'll leave that here, and all we'll do is connect them together. So even though we've got a switch, they're all going to go to here. So moment of truth. Let's deploy this one. Let's test it with, well, let's just test it with this. It's empty. Okay, didn't like it. If we turn this on, I think we'll get lots of empties. Yes, let's turn that off. So that's not bad. It didn't come up with an error. It's just this bit here. So I think it's to do with this message payload type. So I don't think it likes that. So we'll edit this. Let's just put in, I don't know if I can just even leave off the number. Oh, this one likes hexadecimal numbers. Oh, or does it? Syntax error. Okay, no it doesn't. Let's put this in as, well, it could be 2 hex or something like that, or 2 number or something like that, but let's just go, it's 131, we know that, and this one is 129. let's just live with those ones here. Payload.type. I think I've got that right. Message.payload.type equals. So done, deploy. I've got high hopes for this one. Let's see what happens. Yes, that was rather good. So if I turn this on here, we've now got the correct one. So we can do the MQTT publisher using JSONata. Now I promised earlier that we would do this without any coding. Now we've got to just have a discussion with ourselves. Is this coding? Well, we know the syntax. So if we know this syntax, you know, I think we're actually are programming. So I was a bit, I guess, a bit quick to say that we wouldn't be doing any programming. However, I do think this is a little bit easier than JavaScript. In fact, we're using a JavaScript function here, which is quite neat. We can do that on here. We can mix it up. We can do this without the switch. And I'll go ahead and remove the switch. Let's have a look at that switch again. That's what that one's doing. It's checking the message payload type. And we've now got change to rules. Let's even delete the switch. Wire that together. Move all that lot across. Get rid of this one here. And that's it. That's our simpler publisher. I'll turn that off just to deploy that again, just make sure that it's not going to do it. Put that in the bin. Final check. Make sure nothing's broken. Well, of course we have to turn our payload on, don't we? Otherwise we're not going to see it. We have to wait a few seconds for that to work again. To wait 10 seconds, I guess, for that. And we'll just let's scan. Meantime, let's scan that one, and let's wait for. Okay, we've got one. Okay, it's coming in. And it's all working. So I think that's a worthwhile exercise. Thank you for watching.